Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Hope you are all doing well. I have a very special video today. It is a fragrance rotation video, but this is going to be a little bit different because for 2 weeks straight, I essentially wear what is one of the most expensive niche and luxury fragrance houses in the world, Boadicea the Victorious. And one of my favorite houses, obviously, with how many I have in my collection. But the reason I'm doing this is because I'm about to be doing a video on my entire collection and probably doing a ranking video for the top 10 in my collection. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see two separate videos on that. One just kind of going over the entire collection and then ranking maybe a top 10 or 15 video. But as always, with every fragrance rotation video, I'm going to be leaving the name, the day, and the date that I wore these fragrances down in the description. So let's go ahead and get it started. Monday, we got Dasman, one of my favorite rose, oud, and saffron fragrances, and Boadicea has quite a few in their collection of rose, oud, saffron fragrances, and they do an incredible job. This has a very juicy, sweet rose, a little bit acidic and tart as well. Lots of incense and oud and saffron. So this one, Dasman, for me is a very kind of quintessential standard Middle Eastern formula in terms of the focus is on the rose, oud, and saffron. And then Tuesday, in the same category of fragrances, this is Almas. Now this is a little bit different. Rose, oud, saffron, has all those, but it's got some moss and vanilla in the base. This dries down a little bit more sweet than Dasman, and the opening has pineapple and blueberry cassis. Absolutely incredible. Very fruity, a lot more, I would say, wearable than Dasman in terms of the approachability and probably the mass appeal. Very good projection, not quite as much projection as Dasman, but Almas is something I feel that goes better in high heat situations, and it is just a very fruity rose, saffron, and oud fragrance, much more so than Dasman. Next, we got Blue Sapphire here, one of my favorite fragrances, certainly one of the most complimented of the house, which is why probably so many people enjoy it. Not sure if it'll make my top 10 because there's just so many good ones from the house. For personal enjoyment, for compliments, it would definitely make the top 10 for most complimented, but orange, lemon candy, rose, patchouli, oud. This is an incredible fragrance. Very, very long lasting, very developmental. In my opinion, it's very versatile because it's a strong fragrance, but it does have those candied citrus notes, so it's not inappropriate for high heat situations, but it's also got plenty of power if you want to wear it in the cool weather. So a lot of people's favorite from the house. This was on Thursday, and this is called Valiant. For me, it's more like an orange, cherry blossom, sandalwood fragrance. It's got kind of like a creamy citrus note. You guys just got to look up the notes in this fragrance and the breakdown of it. But one thing that cannot be replicated is the quality of ingredients and the blending in here. With a lot of Boadiceas, you're going to hear anybody try to compare them to other fragrances, which just going as far back as you want to go, the fragrances they're trying to compare Boadiceas to, you can say that that fragrance that they're comparing them to also represents another fragrance. It just depends on how far back you want to dig, because there's only so much fragrance categories, and you're always going to have certain fragrances that fit into those categories, some closer than others. So really for me, it's just about who does it best with the blending and the quality of ingredients. And anytime I hear somebody compare a Boadicea to another fragrance, it's in a lot of ways it's laughable because the quality is not the same. Now, whether it's worth it for you to pay extra for Boadicea to get that quality, that's completely up to the consumer. So for me, obviously worth it. Next, we got Friday. This is Night of Love. Man, you want to talk about a lady and a crowd pleaser. The juniper, the cardamom, I think it's got some pink pepper in there. It really jumps off your skin. Spicy, fruity, not overly sweet. It's got leather and tobacco in there, so it's kind of a green, spicy leather tobacco fragrance. Just sublime. It's incredible stuff. Night of Love is definitely going to be up there with one of the most complimented fragrances from the house. Really get a lot of good feedback from that one. So on Friday here, we got Amethyst. Now Amethyst, normally I reserve this for cooler weather because it is a little bit of a gourmand fragrance in my opinion. You got the cinnamon, black pepper, some wood notes. I do get some dark fruits in this. To me, I've always said it smells like a really heavily spiced plum cake or something of that nature. Definitely smells edible. In my opinion, it's the best cinnamon fragrance that I've ever tried, and it's not even close. Unfortunately, this is discontinued. I think everything else on this so far that I've done is available for purchase. So if something's discontinued, I'll try to let you guys know if I can remember when I go over it. So next on Saturday, we got Majestic, somewhat of a newer fragrance, I believe, from Boadicea. Done for Harrods, but guys, lemon, red berry, cinnamon, leather, musk, oud. I mean, this has got sweetness, spice, depth, complexity. Definitely one of my favorite fragrances from the house. And that's hard to say because of so many that I like. I still don't even know if Majestic would make my top 10. Not to give anything away, but I'm looking at some of these fragrances that I really enjoy that get a lot of compliments, like Blue Sapphire, Majestic. And there's so many that I have from the house, and there's so many good ones. I don't even know if they'd make my top 10 or 15. So that just shows how difficult of a list that this is. So Majestic was, what was that? That was on Sunday. Amethyst was on Saturday. So starting the next week off on Monday, forget where I had to go. I was somewhere in South Florida. I had to travel for work. I knew I'd be dressing up. So Amber Sapphire from Boadicea, one of the best dress-up fragrances. Not just from their collection, but one of the best dress-up fragrances ever made, in my opinion. You've got a lot of spice, resins, oud, slightly boozy note. I think it's got some rum and some blueberry cassis in there, along with some of the cinnamon and other types of notes. Just a very proper fragrance. This would go into the same category as Creed's Royal Oud, but I always say this is like Creed Royal Oud on steroids. It's more spicy, more resiny, and one of the things that always kind of frustrated me, even though I have a batch-specific version of Creed Royal Oud that I hunted down because it was so good, you still cannot smell a lot of oud in Creed Royal Oud. Now, Boadicea Amber Sapphire, you get a ton of that, especially on the dry down, which is one thing I really appreciate about that fragrance. And really Boadicea in general, as I've gotten more into wild oud oils and attars from Al Sharif and other companies, it really makes me appreciate the quality and the amount of oud that Boadicea uses in their fragrances, because that's really become a very catchy term in the industry, and you don't have to necessarily use real oud or quality oud, or you could put 0.1 of a milliliter in there and then say you have oud in the fragrance and call it a day. So Boadicea, when they talk about using oud, they do use it to a different degree in a lot of their fragrances. It even says on their website that just depending on what kind of drama they want in the fragrance, that's how much oud they use. But for the most part, when they list oud in a fragrance, you can definitely smell it. So next week on Tuesday, Pure Narcotic. This would belong into a similar category of like an homage beloved man. For me, it's like a classic fougere with a little bit of a Middle Eastern twist in here. A little bit of spices in there. I think it's got some cardamom as well. Just an absolutely gorgeous fragrance. It's green, spicy, kind of that shaving cream fougere with a little bit of a twist on it. This one is discontinued like Amethyst. So is Amber Sapphire. But you can still find these. I think Pure Narcotic you can still find in the secondhand market. Really, really good fragrance. Lighter, but appropriate for all situations. Very versatile for office, business meetings, dates, pretty much anything you want to use it for. Now next, newer fragrance for me. I've had a decant of Nebulous for a little while now, and I've just kind of been waiting for this fragrance to be available direct from the manufacturer. Something that expensive for me personally. Especially a bottle that you can't see through even with an LED flashlight. That's something I'm not really going to take a chance on in the secondary market. I'd rather just order it direct from the manufacturer and have that peace of mind, albeit you are going to pay a little bit more money for that. But man, oud, saffron, musk, woods, rose. The quality and the amount of oud in this fragrance they use is really, really insane. And in fact, for that reason, there's a lot of people, unless you're a fan of those types of fragrances or oud, you're not really going to enjoy it that much. So next up here, we got Violet Sapphire. This fragrance, guys, I know it's a lot of my subscribers' favorites. I know Ricky, this is one of his favorites. And man, for summer, high heat situations, springtime, I don't really know of a better fruity oud. I like King Blue as well, but still, even though they're in the same kind of like fruity oud category, very different, guys. This one's got peach, passion fruit, raspberry sorbet, crystal musk or amber. and oud. And it's got some other notes than that, but that really is what it represents. It is a fruity oud fragrance and just incredibly gorgeous stuff. One of my favorite fragrances, again, for those high heat situations. So next up here, we got Azrak from Boadicea. This is actually in context of what Boadicea has to offer in terms of pricing. Azrak is one of the more affordable options. You can get it for around $300 to $400. Discounters, I've seen it as low as like $265, $270, I believe. I think I picked this one up on Joma Shop for like $280, somewhere around that range. And guys, Azrak, it's floral, marine, fruity. It is a blue fragrance, but it is still a unique blue fragrance. It's not something that you've smelled before, if that makes sense. It's hard to put it into its own specific category. It really is just kind of a floral, marine blue fragrance without smelling like Chanel Blue or Armani Acqua di Gio, something like that. So next up, we got Hanuman. This was worn on Saturday. And Hanuman has always been one of my favorite from the Zodiac series. Vetiver, musk, woods, citrus fruit. I think you got like some mandarin, grapefruit, orange, blood orange, something of that nature in the top notes. But it really does kind of represent what it's supposed to represent, which is a tropical rainforest, a monkey's habitat. And regardless of the story behind it or the animal on the bottle, Hanuman is just an absolutely incredible fragrance, mainly for its longevity, its development, and for this kind of category of fragrance being fresh, but also backed up by plenty of wood notes, musk, and vetiver. I think they just did a great job of including the quality ingredients and blending this. And I know for a lot of other people, Hanuman is one of their favorite from the Zodiac series as well. For me, that one and Hasu, they're all good, but those two, especially during spring and summertime, just dynamite. So last but not least, one of the most complex and situational fragrances, but also one of the best, in my opinion, from the entire house, is Green Sapphire. Now, Green Sapphire, pine, violet, raspberry, and oud. There's some more going on than that. You got some violet in there. I believe it's like violet leaf and some other ingredients, but that's really the main star of the show is the pine, the raspberry, and the oud. Just very complex. There's something about Green Sapphire when it dries down after you spray it, what that fragrance does in the air. But again, all these fragrances here, a lot of painful research for you guys before I do my Boadicea video, but I couldn't be happier to do it because it is a house that I truly enjoy, and it is something that I think is very worthwhile collecting if you are especially into Middle Eastern fragrances, because Boadicea is one of those houses that does Middle Eastern fragrances very, very well. And yeah, got a lot more coming for the channel. Let me know what you guys want to see in the comments, and I'll see you soon.